Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. So remember that Ted Nugent auction we looked at last week? We've got the results in. I'm surprised these guys went for so much. So you got one for $1,200 and then somebody was fighting over this one at about $2,600. That's pretty respectable on this Marshall amp too, $2,700. It definitely broke their estimate. But let's see how those cool PRS prototypes did. Only $15,000 on this one. Interesting. $10,000 on the 95 and $20,000. Oh, I knew this one would be big. Not quite as big as their $30,000 top estimate, but being a pre-production PRS guitar, I knew that would interest someone. Some respectable showing on these PRSs. Ooh, I knew the camo PRS would do well. Wow. I didn't think 22,500 well, but yeah, that did great. Oh my. Who paid $90,000 for a modern day Byrdland? I mean, I get it. It was Ted Nugent's, right? That's the guitar he's known for. But I don't think this is the guitar that he played all the time. I thought he was all after those vintage ones. That is insane. Add in the buyer's premium of 15%. Someone paid over $100,000 for that. That surprises me. I mean, that even surprised the auction. I think they were being generous, going up to $80,000. I initially recorded the auction hunting episode a couple of weeks ago before they added item descriptions. This one, the story that Ted put in here, he must have mistook that for a different guitar because this thing wasn't even birthed until 1999. There's no way he purchased this one in the 80s, unless it was re-necked at one point in time. I mean, compare that to a real 50 Stratocaster, only bringing 57.5. Oh man, do I even want to look at the bursts? All right, here we are. 275,000 and 300,000. That's pretty respectable, considering the condition of those two. They were pretty worn, and I was kind of curious if one of them had a headstock break or not. But there's definitely been bursts that have sold for more, especially celebrity-owned ones. So relatively speaking, not a lot of interest in those. Looks like we got some 5Ks, 6,000 on the 346. Ooh, wow. I definitely got proved wrong on that. I was saying he'd be lucky to get opening bid, and there we go, 2,000 above it. Respectable amounts on these. A ridiculous amount on that. The Gibson Howard Roberts Fusion of his for 9,000. Somebody really wanted that for some reason. They went a little bit crazy on this one as well. Now let's see our standards and traditionals. So 4,000. Whoa! Was this used at some sort of iconic concert? I would have never guessed 7,000. Not even these guys. They said like 5,000 absolute max. A special for 4. The Weird Guild did okay. How about this one? Yeah, I thought for sure this one was going to sell for quite a bit. So they were thinking at max 10,000. It almost made it there. 7.5. It was kind of an interesting piece. The $2,400 Studio. And it looks like something happened with that one. There's not a price listed. I'm surprised by that one too. I would never pay that much for signatures unless you're hanging out with the band for a day. So yeah, some of these actually sold for some quite impressive prices. Wow, $4,000 on both of those guys. I guess that's kind of summing up Ted Nugent in a nutshell. Guitars and guns. If only there was like a car inlaid on it or something. And there's that chromatic tuner I was talking about. Somebody went up to about $425 once you add the premium in. And the cheapest item that sold that was labeled as a guitar, or a guitar cutout in this case, was $250 for that. Very cool. Let's go ahead and check out eBay. Is there anything ending tonight? I mean, I'm kind of recording this at a weird time, but we got an L00 walnut burst. Yeah, that's nothing too special. But ooh, let's check this out. You don't see too many Zack Wylde customs, like legit ones, show up for sale. And usually when they do show up, they're either really beat up or just really overpriced. So it's kind of interesting to see an open auction. This is for a 2010 version, so it's going to have the real ebony fretboard. It appears to be in good shape. Might be at some sort of a pawn shop, maybe? So you could get a good deal on it. That's probably just why they opened auction it. Yeah, this thing's really clean. I can see like a little bit of a mark right here, and it's not like a particularly early example. But what's the bidding at currently? $5,300. That's impressive. Back when I used to toy with those, they were around, $4,000. That's what I was selling them for. And like the really beat up one, I got $3,000. But remember, that was like 3, 4, 5 years ago here. It's crazy how fast the market has changed the past couple of years. So perhaps these really are $5,000 to $6,500 guitars. I think what's really helping this one out is that it is so clean, and people are competing against each other in an open auction bid. But right now it looks like we have a 2001 listed for $5,000. We've got a $12,000 in excellent condition, and $8,000 for a modern day one. This one's definitely yellowed. It's got a cool vibe, but that's not what I think of when I think the bullseye guitar. Ooh, wow, that's got finish checking all up and down it. And a lot of people that buy these, they want to play them. They want to play them hard. But then there's also the collectors that just want it because, you know, Zack Wylde kind of got an interesting story how he went with his own brand of guitars after he did some of these Gibsons. And surprisingly enough, somebody's jacked the original case, and with it, potentially the certificate of authenticity. And, ooh, yeah, that's kind of ugly looking up here. I think $5,000 would be very generous of someone to pay, but who knows? Maybe the market just has that. So comparatively speaking, do you want to try to win this one for about $5,000, or do you want to pay for this one? I don't know. Would the market pay $6,500? It sold for $5,451, including shipping costs. I think that was a fair price, all things considered. It might even be able to sell for a little bit more in today's market. Continuing on here, anything interesting? Looks like we get a classic gold top. Is that one of those 2018s? I always find it funny how they had these as a classic, and then the original collection came out, and then they basically just became a standard, and that caused these things to inflate in price because they're very similar, but people are shopping around on the used market, and they go, hey, this looks about the exact same. How about I buy this and save myself $700? It's kind of funny how that sometimes works out. Here's a pretty cool hat. Is this the listing that says Joe Bonamassa has one? No, it's not, but I swear I've seen one that did talk about that. So apparently this was in an attic for 40 years. Apparently it was climate controlled, but it definitely needs cleaned, honestly. I would probably just clean it up before trying to sell it. But it's a size medium if you're interested in this. I've seen this get relisted multiple times. I don't know if I can pull a cowboy hat off. But hey, how about we check this out? So vintage new old stock guitar picks. I've been seeing quite a few of these show up lately, but I'm always curious, how do you know that these are not reproductions that someone has just made? I mean, what are the odds that they found these vintage ones and they're all intact? Because as far as I know anyways, there's no definitive guide of here's what the real original ones look like, here's what a replica might look like. I'm sure it wouldn't be that hard to get someone in China to replicate all these old picks and then for someone to sell them for this, because I mean, look at that, $350 for old plastic. Now, you might be able to say, hey, it's got the carrying case. It must be legit, right? Not necessarily, because I've seen these old carrying cases get sold separately. They bring like $50 to $80, sometimes a little bit more, and I understand that. So who's to say someone's not just scamming? Now, I'm not saying that the seller has done that. I'm just saying, what's to stop somebody from doing that and claiming it's new old stock? Someone was selling those tri-picks, and I thought that was kind of cool. Like I could buy them and part them out, because I'm sure I could find 100 followers within my group that'd want to pay $5 for each pick. I swear, this case has been for sale as long as I've been into guitars. He's just kind of fishing for that buyer that needs this particular case. A regular Joe's not going to buy this, but it takes a very specialized person who needs it, who will pay this much to get it back. Whoa, 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 whoa! No! What? I've always dreamed of sawing a EDS 1275 but not like that! I wanted to liberate the guitars, not cut it. Oh my goodness. And they want $1,000 for it. Let's look at it. So seeing this makes me think it's probably a late 80s version. Either that or early 90s. Now what's nice about the way that they've sawn this in half is you still have all the necks, and it would not be that hard to sculpt the rest of the body back onto it or turn it into some Frankenstein. Yeah, that's definitely a late 80s logo. Looks like we got the maple necks, so those are nice and strong. Truss rod looks okay, just based on what we can see there. You'd actually have to test it, though. Kind of same thing on this. I mean, the frets don't look too bad, but the body's also cracked there. But you can glue that. You can glue it. You'd have to refinish it anyways. I mean, you're going to have to carve a body onto the bottom, but I bet it would not be as hard as we're thinking it would be. I mean, this is the hardest part, the neck. And if the necks aren't broken and they're still relatively straight and can hold string tension, it even has serial numbers, was not labeled a factory second because they probably thought chopping it in half would be good enough. Oh my goodness, we've seen our fair share of chopped in half guitars, but I've never seen a double neck like that. Would love to see somebody buy that and restore it. That would make a great video series. I really wish I could find a competent luthier that's trustworthy that I could do, fun projects with him like that. Because I've got no problem investing money in projects. It's just whenever I try doing that, I get scammed. It's like I'm done with that. This thing both made and destroyed my night. Amazing what you can find on eBay at 1 a.m. Yeah, here's those tri-picks I was talking about. Somebody had like 100 of them in an original case. And I think they're kind of cool. I could make a video out of those. Let's see what's going on here. Parts only. So we get one of those tributes. I think these are about $11.99 brand new at the store. Oh, listed for parts simply because of... that could just be a scratch, but what that likely is when things get dropped in shipping and it slams down this way, sometimes, the force wants to break out here. Generally, there's not much you can do to repair those. You just kind of leave them as is. Sometimes you can open them up a bit more, sink some glue in. But since it's a crack and it could get worse in the future, these things sell for dirt cheap. Not so much in this particular case because people have bid it up way too much. But just some food for thought if you ever see a guitar with cracks on the side of the neck. Let's see what's going on with their J45. Is it something similar? Sometimes you'll find the headstock's just completely separated and needs re-glued. Ooh, yeah, that one got a little crack in the back. But let's see what was just listed. Ooh, that could be an okay deal. Fairly new seller. What's our description? Small bit of lacquer scratched on back, but otherwise great condition. Okay. Let's take a look at this. I mean, 65 SGs with a Maestro Vibrola like that seems to be fairly priced. Doesn't look like any headstock breaks, but it's not the headstock you need to worry about on these SGs, it's the heel. Get a little buckle rash right there. You can see all the finish checking. Needs a little bit of a cleanup on the headstock. Ooh, nice. Original case. I really want to try a 60s SG. I have not dove too far into 60s Gibson history. I mean, $5,500, that seems like a steal. Well, looks like currently on the market, there's one for 10.5, about 10, 12, 20. Well, the price guide's actually saying if it's the big necked version, between $8,000 to $11,000. But if it's the smaller nut width, $73,000 to $10,000. So no matter what, that is actually priced very fair. It's like priced so fair, I'm scared to even bid on it because relatively new seller, it's eBay. eBay's not always the best when it comes to disputes. Not saying that the seller is a scammer, but things to look for are feedback. They currently have 0 recent feedback. Everything on here is from more than a year ago, and they have absolutely 0 feedback as a seller ever. Now that could just be somebody only occasionally uses eBay to buy something. There are definitely legit sellers like this, but when they come up with such an expensive item, it definitely raises some questions. You need to contact these people to feel comfortable buying. That SG's not too far from my location. I mean, I could drive if I wanted to, but I don't ever leave my house. That was even before pandemic. But the good news is shipping would automatically be overnight if they use FedEx or UPS. I might poke around on this one. Maybe we will finally get a vintage SG on the show. Thank you, Troglodytes, for tuning into tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.